Alright, we made it. We've covered all the legit examples of the most dangerous game covered by Brian Sen in the book The Most Dangerous Cinema, and I think we've defeated the stink bug hive mother once and for all.
What's going on? We got it!
So anyway, the plants should be out of here by the next video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can always go to my channel and watch those videos, but you can also just follow along and see what new versions of the Most Dangerous Game have come out in the last 10 years or so. See, the book was published in 2014, and so there's been no new coverage over the last decade, so that's what we're going to do now. Some of these examples we'll just briefly touch on because they might not be legit adaptations.
Wait, what the hell are you talking about?
Oh yeah, and my idiotic, maybe imaginary friend Hanky here is tagging along. He keeps eating the stink bugs, that's why they're all gone, and it's making him a little erratic. Hello, Hanky, we're not supposed to take you seriously, are we?
No. No, thank you. Hi!
You seem a little unsettled. You didn't like my intro?
What are you, stupid?
What? What's your problem?
You're bringing up phantom issues!
Okay, I mean, what do you want me to do? Should we just quit then? You want to end the video?
Oh, no, we can't wait. We have to move on this thing now.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's just do that. First movie on the list, Beyond the Reach, 2014. This is a pretty decent survival horror flick featuring Michael Douglas as the rich white CEO hunter who turns on his hunting guide due to an unfortunate gun accident. The movie's alright and certainly fair entertainment, but if we go by Brian Sen's criteria, Beyond the Reach would be classified as an almost dangerous game because Douglas's motivation isn't to hunt for sport, but for self-interest and to cover up his crimes, right?
Well, I don't make the rules, so...
Right. Well, to that end, our hero isn't setting many traps or even giving a sporting chance, and instead is just trying to survive unarmed against mostly the elements. Not where I would go to showcase Michael Douglas's best projects or for the Most Dangerous Game film. In 2017, we get Never Leave Alive. This time out, Rainsford is a washed-up third-rate celebrity hunter at the bottom of a bottle, and the people-hunting lunatic is an ex-KGB agent. This is a pretty faithful attempt at the story that unnecessarily attempts some changes that don't really matter because the entire production is mid. But for a production very much doing The Most Dangerous Game, there are many small changes, and I don't think they add much to the story, but I guess it's been done so many times, there's room for variation. Changes made like Rainsford and the leading lady are now the only survivors of the shipwreck, so there's much less build-up to their mysterious host revealing his true intentions. They meet, have a drink, which has been spiked, and then he just spills the tea on his evil master plan.
Now listen to me carefully. There's a boat. Do you hear me, Mr. Rainsford? There's a boat on the other side of the island. If you get there, you live.
Or there's a reveal that our crazy human hunter was on board the ship before it went down and sunk it specifically to catch Rainsford, which is pretty contrived and unnecessary if you ask me. In their attempt to simplify the cast by eliminating other survivors, the screenwriters have also expanded the previously mute assistant of Zaroff into a more three-dimensional character who becomes a kind of foil for the leading lady. And we do get the hunting conversation before the madness, but again, it's just a bit clumsier than the original.
You're cheating, you know? I mean, these animals aren't in their native habitats. You always have the advantage. And it's an island. It's not a real hunt if there's no chance they can get away.
Well, I have no chance to get away. They have no chance to get away. It seems fairly even to me.
The actor playing Rainsford is a professional wrestler, but has none of the charm of The Rock. I guess you could argue he's supposed to be unlikable, and that's fine, but it's not helping my enjoyment of the movie. The main problem is really the endless meet-cute romance that fills every second scene between our two leads, which only serves to break the illusion that they're under constant threat from their hunters. The movie is low, mid-tier level, but it does showcase a stronger role for our female lead.
You don't know anything about me.
Oh, let's see here. You hunt deer for sport, sort of, although you're more well known for your famous love interests and stupid reality TV shows because you're so drunk you can barely even walk.
Another strong, kick-ass, female-led, dangerous-esque type movie, sure to fall into the almost dangerous camp, is Ready or Not from 2019, starring Samara Weaving. On her wedding night, the rich family she is marrying into requires her to play a game at midnight as part of her initiation, and you can see how this is going to go based on the context of the rest of this video series, obviously, but there are some really fresh takes on the conventions of this subgenre, and I don't want to ruin them here. This is one reason I like covering older movies where the statute of limitations has run out on major spoilers, because in many cases those twists are so good they've become cliches. So in that same spirit, I don't want to ruin this movie for anybody, so let me tell you about some elements about the film that were really great that are not plot related. I have an affinity for movies contained in a small area. The Breakfast Club Library, Clerks in the Quick Stop, and RST, and similar to Knives Out, the house or the mansion in Ready or Not really is its own character. It's both dark and scary, foreboding and cold, but the use of color and rich wood everywhere also makes it warm or bestows a rich texture to it. The house was actually 3 different locations, all filmed in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And if I could also fillet the art design team or whoever made the board games, I love the design. See, Samara's marrying into a Milton Bradley type rich family of elites, the idea being that the family is a giant conglomerate now, but started their fortune making board games. So when they're going to pick a game, we get to see all the other family brands of board games, specifically LaBelle's Gambit, which is on display in various vintage versions. It would have been really cool if they had made one of them for real that you could buy and play. I highly praise the film. It's deserving of praise. Please see it. It's funny, it's horrific, and most of all, it really holds your attention for the entire runtime, and Samara Weaving's just a treasure. In 2020, we got The Hunt, starring Betty Gilpin, Hilary Swank, and Emma Roberts. I think it's safe to say that Mr. Sen would also place this in the Almost Dangerous Game section, but it's a clear standout movie in this chapter. Again, like Ready or Not, the lead is female, and the motives aren't quite what we need them to be. I also don't really even want to give away too much here because this film is pretty new, so much of the plot revolves around the reveals of where they are and why and who's doing it all, so I think that would take away too much from the experience of watching it. I will say that this is another example of the best of the decade's genre being strong female protagonists leading the movie, smart and capable. Gilpin really shines as like a Snake Plissken level badass taking no shit and expecting no quarter. The film also has a very political message to it that I think is great. It's poking fun at both sides of the aisle, and while that might infuriate some viewers, I really appreciated the underlying message. Again, I will leave that for you to discover for yourselves. The basic concept starts with a bunch of conservative voters waking up in a field and immediately being hunted, and I don't want to say more than that. The movie is too new and lesser known to spoil it. The action is great, the humor's on point, and it's really funny, clever, biting, and merciless. Huge props to Lindelof for writing this. I'm not much of a Lindelof guy. Burned on Lost, and then a string of L's with Star Trek Into Darkness, Cowboys and Aliens, Prometheus, Tomorrowland. Ugh. But this is really great stuff. Huge points on the scoreboard for this. It came out right at the start of 2020, so the pandemic kind of killed the box office for this movie, but it deserves more attention and a further look. Apex from 2021. Bruce Willis, Neil McDonough, and Lachlan Monroe star in this re-envisioned sci-fi dangerous game where elites have a private club that sources the most dangerous criminals from penitentiaries and then hunts them on a private island. A futuristic take on the Richard Connell story isn't really necessary to make the story any better, but considering all the variations, I would be excited to see a good sci-fi version. This is not a good sci-fi version for so many reasons. First, the performances and or script. You can't do much with plotting, cliched dialogue, but it doesn't help that Bruce Willis, who retires from acting soon after, is clearly dealing with his illness on set, with him looking lost in every scene, and the editing is cut around all of his already sparse dialogue. We get lots of over-the-shoulder shots and silent scenes. Most of the movie focuses on the hunters, and Willis is like a ghost in the movie, barely there for most of it. Particularly sad because at the height of his powers, Willis would have had the ability to right this ship with a better performance, but also the ability to have changes made with badly needed rewrites. McDonough is the lead hunter named Rainsford now, and he becomes the anchor for the movie as he is not only hunting the prey, but also the other hunters as well. Another problem is that none of them can be taken seriously as hunters as they traipse through the forests loudly arguing or even talking to themselves like clowns.
He walks stealthily through the forest, checking the canopy.
Of course, they're all so unstable and deranged that even without Willis, these guys would just kill each other. Sure enough, the first two kills are hunters killing each other. Willis just watches in the woods. But even crazier is the sequence where old Bruno just sits down and sparks up a cigar, totally chill, like there's no hunt happening or even a film being made.
This place ain't so bad.
I mean, I'm pretty sure cigar stink would be a dead giveaway to real hunters. Well, not this bunch of losers. He's supposedly being hunted by killers that just kill themselves. But then, he meanders off and goes berry picking. I'm not even making this up. Roll the clip. And I didn't put in that Happy Time BS music cue either. That's where the movie is 45 minutes in. Hallucinogenic berries.
Tachyon radiation has mutated the berries, imbued them with a concentrated psychotroph, a highly potent hallucinogenic also known as psilocybin ayahuasca. You're about to trip some serious balls.
It doesn't bother me.
You know, I think I'm making it sound so much cooler than it is. We don't get much of a return on the trippin' balls part. Bruce Willis doesn't even face one of his hunters until an hour in, and then he just talks to him and then walks away. Meanwhile, the hunters have already killed 3 of their own. There are 6 to start with, and by the time Willis fights one of them, there's only 2 left. The movie filmed in Bellingham, Washington, and also in Victoria, Canada. I looked it up to confirm, but these Northwest woods are pretty unmistakable. Sci-fi tropes like holograms and transporter technology are peppered throughout the movie, but none of it adds any value or quality. It's just like a little razzle-dazzle, like icing on a stale cookie. For example, they do a trophy room of heads, but the heads beam in for some reason. Although I did kind of like how they did the Hounds of Zaroff, which they call mongrels, which are just like mercenaries that get a text and then they're beamed into the killing grounds. Of course, they wouldn't have needed to do that if they hadn't killed all their own people.
I'd like to buy 5 mongrels, please.
I think this is one of those movies that just hurts to watch because you can see a good movie in there somewhere, and this just completely misses the mark. For a good sci-fi version, stick to the Predator movies or The Running Man. Alright, last legit movie, The Most Dangerous Game, a 2022 remake. We're not really ending our list on a high note. Everything exciting or promising about the movie all happens at the start. First we have the cast of Bruce Dern and Judd Nelson, Casper Van Diem, and Tom Berenger. Okay. I mean, I like the idea that instead of meeting the other survivors on the island coincidentally, that the drunk and his father were also going to be prey for the Baron. Of course, later on, Rainsford just meets more people randomly in the forest, so I don't really know what the point was there. The main character, Sanger Ransford, is played by TC, who's some guy from The Real World and The Challenge, some other reality show. I don't really do reality TV so much, so I don't really know about that. It's not a great performance. Bruce Dern's cameo is rough. Judd Nelson delivers every line like he doesn't believe any of what he's saying, and Casper Van Dien's German accent was a serious misstep. Sorry guys, but it was just brutal.
Well, the moose is a formidable opponent during mating season. But the most dangerous is the Cape Water buffalo.
Here on my preserve, I hunt even more dangerous game.
No.
You have big game here on the island?
The most dangerous.
Huh.
Isn't that a coincidence?
Tom Berenger was pretty good though, but sadly his character of old man who lives on the island too is pretty silly. I would stick to Ready or Not or The Hunt as the best of this last decade and avoid the rest if you can help it, unless you're as hopeless of a completist as I clearly am. So now let's look at our last bonus section and then wrap up the series. So after you commercialize and monetize The Hunt, what's left? Humans hunting humans is the peak of the sport, right? A hunter as cunning and capable as you. These stories are told all over the world, so what's next? Well, how about aliens from off-world coming here to hunt us? It's still within the theme of humans being hunted. The most obvious example is The Predator and all of its subsequent sequels and spin-offs. They're pretty well-known classics, so instead I'm going to cover only 2 of these examples, but you could drop in on any of these examples for a similar premise. Predator, Predator 2, Predators, The Predator, Alien vs. Predator, AVP Requiem, wow. But we're going to be talking about Prey from 2022. Okay, this is a great Predator movie, something completely different without sacrificing any of the established rules or lore of the Predator. Like James Bond, this series isn't about evolving Bond, it's about moving him into different environments and facing different villains, showcasing new gadgets, and that's exactly how this story plays out. New time and place, new weapons, it was a blast. This movie's set about 400 years ago, and our protagonists are a tribe of Comanche as they existed in a world only starting to be touched by Western colonizers. Then, we throw a Predator into the mix. I don't want to spend too much time on this movie because it's pretty new and it had millions of views on streaming, and so I'm sure it's been covered ad nauseum, and deservedly so. But I wanted to point out that even this far into a sci-fi series, there are still glimmers of those most dangerous game themes. Our main character is eager to go out on a ritual hunt of the mountain lion as a rite of passage to prove herself, and her brother is asking her, why?
I've been practicing. It's time. I'm ready for my katamia.
You really think you're ready? You want to hunt something that's hunting you.
And the alien hunters aren't invading marauders simply warring with humans like most alien invasion movies. They share a code of ethics, the fetishizing of the ritual hunt, and a code of honor. In previous Predator films, we would see moments where the Predator won't kill unarmed people who pose no threat, or won't kill a pregnant woman, similar to hunters not killing pregnant animals to preserve the natural herd numbers to sustain their ability to hunt. The Predators take trophies. In Prey, we see the Predator move up the ranks of species on our planet to ever more deadly animals, a snake, a wolf, a bear, and then us. And echoing the evolution of women's roles in this story, like the other entries earlier in this chapter, Prey's main character is also a female warrior, and she handles herself very well. The movie filmed in Calgary, Canada, and is the first movie to be dubbed in the native Comanche language, which is historic. Now, my second choice for a sci-fi aliens hunting humans film is the 1980 outing starring Jack Palance and Martin Landau called Without Warning. It's only good at not being good. Okay, I'm gonna ruin the ending, which I normally don't do, but I think you're gonna thank me. You could turn back or skip ahead if you don't want to see it, but I really think you're gonna thank me. So much of this movie is based on revealing this mysterious alien hunter, and that only happens at the very, very, very end. You can't watch this movie expecting the promised reveal and get this embarrassment. I'll show you. The actor in the makeup, by the way, is the same as the original Predator guy in the suit. Same guy. See? Even the book points out this is like revealing the Star Trek alien from the end credits of the original 60s Star Trek show. But despite the corny nature of our alien hunter, the movie looks pretty good. Cinematographer Dean Cundey makes it look like a John Carpenter movie because Dean Cundey worked with Carpenter multiple times as well. And while the main alien isn't super impressive, I do like his little alien squidgies, which are pretty cool. And even in this dilapidated Most Dangerous Alien Huntings human movie, we still see some core principles of the Most Dangerous game pop up in the dialogue.
You've never been hunting, have you?
No, I don't plan to either.
It's a good sport, as long as you follow the rules.
Yeah, well, I don't see it as a sport. I don't think I could ever kill an animal.
It depends on the animal and who's doing the hunting.
So that brings us to the end of the Sci-Fi Most Dangerous Alien Games bonus section, and the end of our 5-part expose on this classic thriller. It's interesting, actually, to see how the idea of the original story, the subtitle for this book even, is the idea of man hunting man, which is base in its testosterone, masculine, primitive ambitions of challenge and destruction, and attempts to codify that as artful and principled. And yet the real story, once the book had been adapted to film, is really all about the women's roles. In our first 1932 version, the biggest change from the novel was the addition of the leading lady, very much a damsel in distress, and then leaning into the next couple decades, the story becomes an exploitation vehicle, really focusing its bloodlust, no pun intended, on the killing of women, specifically with titles like The Woman Hunt. And even in Confessions of a Psychocat, we saw our First Lady Hunter, which also becomes a theme in various other films like The Perverse Countess. And now, over the last decade, we can really see the arc of women's roles in this particular story come full circle, where they can play the hero themselves in movies like Ready or Not or The Hunt, which are easily the most successful, brilliantly inventive, funny, and brutally violent that we've seen in recent years. Even in straight-up adaptations like Never Leave Alive in 2017, we see a much stronger and more capable female hero as the lead. I kind of wonder where Mr. Sen would place the Purge franchise. Maybe in the almost section. It's definitely humans hunting humans, not exactly for sport and not an adaptation, but still evolving the concept for new generations in a brilliantly conceived way. So, we're kind of wrapping up here. I think I got the stink bug thing under control, just not really sure what's happened to Hanky.
Don't you worry about it.
You sure? I mean, dude, these are powerful people. I can't help but think that maybe I got you into this trouble.
Well, I think you have a gift for it.
Well, hey, buddy, I didn't put the crossbow in your hands. I didn't make you skin anybody alive.
Don't misunderstand me. I'm just trying to pay you a compliment.
No, well, don't do me any favors, man.
You know, in spite of every logical instinct I've ever had in my life, I consider you a friend. A real friend.
Well, considering the company you keep, I'm not sure that's a compliment at all.
Oh, right, yeah.
This is getting a little awkward.
I wanted to be your friend.
Oh, we're not friends?
I knew it wasn't possible.
Okay. Well, I think you should leave now.
Those are very powerful words.
Yeah, all right, dude. I'll see you later.
Well, you take care.
Okay, so that wraps things up for this series on The Most Dangerous Game. Big thanks to Brian Sen for being something of an inspiration for this channel. Big thanks to all of you who made it this far. Leave me a comment and tell me which is your favorite version of The Most Dangerous Game. I'd love to know.